anything to get Acura to survive and come back to sort of what it had been known for would be
Right.
highly welcome.
Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our weekly show on cars, the car industry, and driving in general. And I am here with my good friends, Glenn Packman from Fairfield County and Jeff Buchholz from Chicago. And we, this evening, will fix Acura. We will come up with a plan for them. Not that they're terribly broken, but we think that they could be better. So, who wants to go first? Who has
I actually am excited about this topic. This is something about which I know a fair amount. As the owner of a car that sort of represents a period of time that could be described as peak Acura, this the whole brand was, and this topic has come up a few times on the pod. Um, it sort of grew out of the Japanese bubble economy of the
Mhm.
80s and the 90s. Um, Specifically for Acura or Honda, which is the parent company, it's sort of an outgrowth of their strategy in the UK, as it turned out. Honda in the early 80s built a factory in Great Britain, in Swindon, I think. And one of the things that Honda did with that plant, in addition to build Civics for local consumption, was it built a badge engineered version of a version of the Civic called the Honda Ballade, and called it the Triumph Acclaim. And this car was kind of a revelation for the British car industry because it didn't completely dissolve as soon as it got into, as soon as it hit like a puddle or something.
It started in
So
the rain, sorts of
yeah,
things. Yeah.
right. Yeah, it was crazy. So that partnership then between Honda and what I think was then called BL Cars sort of grew. Honda wanted a flagship car, and BL Cars needed a replacement for the gorgeous but frightfully unreliable Rover SD1. Doug, this is where you put the clip of the back door on Clarkson's SD1 falling off during one of the Top Gear challenges when they filled the British cars with water and drove them around the track. Anyway, so what they hit upon was what in Britain was called the Rover 800 series, which then came to the US as the Sterling 827, and for Honda became the Honda Legend, or the backbone or the flagship of the new Acura division in the US, the Acura Legend. And this was at a period of time when Acura was, when Honda's sort of was in the process of sort of rethinking how car companies did luxury cars. And the Acura Legend was, very much on a par with some of the midline Mercedes cars, uh,
Mhm.
for a bit less money. And also the NSX during this period of time was sort of turning the supercar world on its head in a way. So Acura came to the US with two models, the Legend, which was the sort of bespoke flagship car, and the Integra, which was a variant of the Civic that had not been seen in the US. And it was a pretty darn nice car. This is the one with the headlights that flip up and the headlights that flip down. Um, Also known for a period of time in the early 90s as the unofficial gay car of Detroit. Um, I have some personal experience. So the company, the brand then expanded. By this time, Lexus has arrived, Infiniti has arrived with kind of the same formula: flagship car, smaller entry level vehicle. Acura booted the Legend upmarket. That second generation Legend, particularly the coupe version, beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous car, built like a Swiss watch, just amazing. And in between the space created when they moved the Legend a little bit up market and kept the Integra where it was, is they put a car that they sold here as the Vigor, which was an Accord based car in that was sold in Japan called the Inspire, I think. It may have also been called the Vigor. Anyway, that eventually became the TL, the 2.5 TL, which had a 5-cylinder engine, and the 3.2, which had the J series Honda V6, which would become very familiar to American audiences when it wound up under the hood of everything Honda built in the late 90s and early to mid 2000s. And the company was doing pretty well. It was certainly making a name for itself. The Legend wasn't quite the high-end car that the Lexus LS was, but it was certainly holding its own. And then Acura really hit its stride in the very late 90s and mid 2000s with the 3.2 TL, later just called the TL, which was Acura's version of the Accord of that period. And the Accord was a really nice car at this point. This is the particularly boxy one. It was larger. The V6 was really good and very smooth. And the TL was notable for competing with the Lexus ES, the Infiniti G, though it was a nicer car than that, and even some sort of low-end versions of BMWs and Mercedes-Benzes. I know this because I cross-shopped an E36 BMW with the Acura TL and wound up with the Acura. It was notable because literally everything was standard except for a navigation system, and that was the only option you could get. But for the time, for the early 2000s, it was represented an incredible value for the money. 225 horsepower V6, 5-speed automatic transmission, heated seats with leather seating surfaces, a moonroof, heated mirrors, and so forth and so on. A Bose CD system, later a CD changer. It was incredibly well equipped. It won a bunch of comparison tests, and the TL that came after that may be the best looking Acura of all time. That TL was the V6 had been popped up to 240 horsepower. The seats were super comfortable. It was and is a really good car, and you still see a lot of them out and about.
Yeah, surprisingly so.
Yeah. Despite the fact that on the second gen TL and in some of the third gens, the transmissions were made of glass.
Yeah.
They were, of all Hondas of that period, really, the transmissions, Honda decided it wanted to build its own transmissions. Terrible idea. They went back to outsourcing them later on, and the cars were much better. But this is also the period of time when Acura introduced the MDX, which was a really good high-end sport utility vehicle. And the Integra became the RSX, which was a cracking little sports coupe. And the Legend, they decided to drop their really good model names, Legend, Integra, Vigor, and decided to go alphanumeric so that people would remember the Acura name more. The Legend became the RL, which in its final generation was actually a really nice and really handsome car. And it's after that, I think, that they kind of lost the plot a little bit.
Yeah. Glenn, what are your thoughts on Acura?
I'm glad Jeff started because my response is, I'm not quite as informed as Jeff, but I will say this. For me personally, it would be that Acura needs to get back to cars that I wickedly crush on, because like Jeff mentioned, the two-door Legend. Oh, I was
Isn't
in
it a great
college.
car? So beautiful.
I was in college, and all I wanted in my life was an apartment and a two-door Legend. Okay, that's all I needed to be happy. Neither of those was happening anytime soon. My own apartment, not with my roommate with the ferret. So that actually did happen. And that was one of those cars that I just crushed on. I countered to Jeff the first RL. I just pulled up a picture of that car, and
Mhm.
that is still just, it's not the showiest car in the world, but boy,
Mm-mm.
it's just classic. It
Yeah.
has some gorgeous lines. And I might be an outlier here, but I thought the third generation of the TL was the one that just did it for me. The fourth generation was when they introduced the chrome fang on the front, and
Mm-hmm.
they lost me for
You
years.
have you have put your finger on the moment that Acura lost the plot
Thank
when they were trying to figure out how to make the cars stand out and look more distinctive.
Right. And
And
they were
they gave
like,
them this weird mustache.
right, right. The BMW has the little kidney shaped things. That's their look. Jeep has the seven ovals in the front. Let's do a gargantuan chrome fang. And it just every time they came out with something new, that's the first place my eye went, and it was just I was like, they finally just recently got rid of the Fang.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, not ironically, I'm back to liking Acura again. I like the current TLX a lot. I know it's an Accord. I like the current TL. No, it's the little one. No, it's the Integra again.
Yes,
Integra,
it is
yeah.
the
Yeah,
Integra.
which is a it's a Civic, but they look different enough.
It's a
So
really nice Civic. Yeah.
it is a really
Mm-hmm.
nice Civic. So I have a friend who has one. I have to say this, and I'm gonna get hate mail. I had a current Accord as a rental car, and a friend of mine has the current Integra. In both cars, they had the same seats, and they are awful. They're not
Mm,
padded nearly enough.
mm.
Especially in the butt department. And for those of us in our 60s who are rapidly losing our butts as we're getting older, that becomes important. Is it happening to you? Because I definitely mine is just, every time I turn
I
around, there's
I'll
just
let you know when I get there, Glenn.
okay,
right,
thank you.
right. And
You
I'm
little
taking the fifth.
whippersnapper,
Yeah.
get off my
Uh,
lawn.
I
Yeah.
choose not to answer that question on the grounds that, yeah.
Yeah. That will I'll have to stand up and show them on camera? No, no,
No, not
not
happening.
happening.
Nope.
Nope. It's not that kind of podcast, people. Anyways,
What do
so
you think
my
we are? Heated rivalry?
right,
More
exactly.
like chilled rivalry.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, my it's a long roundabout way of saying it. For me, it's that Acura just needs to get back that car that I just so really want in my garage, and they haven't done that in a long time. I do, like I said, I really do like the current TLX and the Integra a lot, and I think they're back headed in a right direction. But for years they just lost their way, and all those beautiful cars just went away, and I was so sad. I
I
was so
think
sad.
I think what they're doing, Doug, you'll correct me on this. I think the TLX is going away
Oh, really?
after this year.
Mhm.
Um, and that would leave the Integra as their only like true sedan
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
And then they're, moving on to crossovers and SUVs, where I actually think they enjoy some success. I
Yeah.
still
Mhm.
Yeah.
think, I don't know how many generations deep we are in MDX. I think it's the fourth one.
Yeah.
But they're pretty successful and they're
Yeah.
really nice looking cars.
Mhm.
The RDX seems to do well. They're about to bring out another one. They, in fact, have brought it out that's based on the HRV, I think.
Yeah, that's
And
the ADX.
yeah, correct. Um,
Yeah.
and although I understand that they are bringing back the nameplate RSX,
Mhm.
but it's not attached to a sporty hatchback. It's a sporty SUV crossover situation.
Was that was was that the electric? No, the electric one was the ZDX,
Yes,
which they sold for like a year and then stopped, and
right. It was one of
it's like,
the yeah one of the Ultium cars, one of the cars that
mhm,
GM built for them, along
right.
with the Honda Prologue. Um, the I will say that there are people who will suggest that one of the signs that Acura lost its way was the original ZDX, which was the
Mm,
four-door coupe SUV. I actually think those are kind of cool. And I think I'd rather have one of those than the BMW X6.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
if only
Yeah.
because the Acura would probably run longer.
I was following one the other day,
Yeah,
literally. Yeah. Mm.
yeah, those were interesting at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think. And I think while the fang or the mustache really wasn't successful at all, I don't know that the present ones are particularly distinctive, though I
Mm.
agree with you, Glenn, they are better.
They're better. Yeah, they're better. I
Mm.
think for me, the biggest thing is at this point, I would, like if somebody said get an RDX, I would just say, well, the CRX is a really decent car and it's nice looking, and I don't need to spend the extra money.
CRV,
The
right?
CRV. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Did I
yeah,
say
yeah,
CRX? Totally
yeah.
wrong.
If only we had a CRX in
Only,
here.
oh,
Word, what a
another
great
little
little car
crush
that was.
car. Come on,
Yeah, right?
they were
Yeah.
great. Oh my God. I had a friend that had the original generation, a really cute little car, and
Hmm.
boy, it was zippy. And he let me drive it, and I couldn't be happier. I did the Grapevine north of Los Angeles to Bakersfield in that car,
Wow.
and boy, it was a fun drive. And I'm so lucky I didn't get pulled over because
Hmm.
I was not obeying the speed limit. But I guess, to that end, that's a little bit of the pressure that they must have at Acura in that the Hondas they're great cars. And
Hmm.
if you're really going to spend that extra money, you really need to have a lead. Now, I'm going to say I pulled up a picture of the ADX, which I had not seen. It's definitely improvement over the Honda counterpart, which I do not like at all. It's
No.
Hmm.
my favorite car. It's got. I'm sure it's a fine little car because it's a Honda.
Oh,
It's
Honda's
got,
will Honda. Yep.
yeah, it's got an odd little shape to it that I don't particularly care for. But, that being said, Honda's got so much in their lineup right now that I would be like, yep, give me one. I'll take it right now. The Passport,
Yeah,
for sure. How
yeah,
about how about an
go ahead.
Acura version of the Passport? Like something really
Well,
interesting.
Hmm.
I have a plan for Acura,
Go.
and well, we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna come back
Take a
with my
break and
plan.
then go.
All
Yep.
right. We'll be right back. All right. So here is my plan to save Acura. So I think one of the problems that Acura has is that everything is so aligned with the Honda side of things.
Yeah.
And I think that you need something that defines what the brand is better than just a nicer version, right? And to me, what I think you could lean into is you make Acura the Japanese BMW, the performance brand, right? And every vehicle that they sell and even the base level is considered a driver's car. Like every BMW has some sort of, whether it's the old advertising slogan or what, but people perceive this is a driver's car. This is a driver's oriented vehicle, that this is, something that's going to be special. On the flip side of that, for Hondas are nice cars. They have some sort of fun. They, are, but I think what you lean into is what they're finding real success in is the Passport Trail Sport. And that if you take that and because that, rugged trim level is what used to be the luxury version, and now the trim level above that is the rugged outdoorsy version. That's what you build into all your product. I think you say goodbye with a fond farewell to the Civic Type R. Is it? Yes. Drop the
Yes.
Civic Type R, and because I think you're just splitting the market on two cars that are really very similar,
Hmm.
and then just put it all on the Acura side, and it feeds into the brand, and then you bring it over. I don't know. I don't remember where they compare on the price, but I can't think it's that much, you know. But you know, that's where you start. I think I think Honda corporate has to commit to, like, we need to build, and maybe you lose a lot of money on this, but you need to build a rear wheel drive sedan that, you know, like what Mazda did with the CX-90, the CX-70, and you commit to a straight six, longitudinal drive in the rear wheels, maybe has all-wheel drive, but this kind of, you know, you bring that and you call it the Legend because, Jeff, you're right. Those Legends were just
Yeah.
gorgeous. I remember driving one that a friend of mine was selling, and oh, it was phenomenal. And I still
Hmm.
look at him and go, it's just a lovely, lovely car.
Hmm.
Um, and I think, you know, in the comparison between, you know, the top end Infinity at the time and the top end Lexus at the time, like, oh well, that's kind of just kind of like a lot like an Accord with the front wheel drive, you know, and you know, I think it suffered in that, but I think the car itself was right up bumping up the bottom end of those brands.
Hmm.
But you know, I think, like I said, give it a straight six. You know, make it some really driver's car and allow it to, you know, to be out there as kind of your brand leader.
Mhm.
I think then the other piece of this, and this was the marketing comes in, is I think you say and go to track days all over the country, and you sponsor one day, you know, wherever, where you bring 10 Type S Acuras, and you know, anyone can come with their car and try out the you know the 10, you know, the 10 Type S Acura Integras. I'm sorry, that's what I said. I mean Type S Integras. And really put out there, like, here's what you could do. Here's what you could have. This is what this car does. And this is, you know, this is here. But we have other vehicles that step up from it. And I think that accomplishes, it's not just a nicer Honda, it's a Honda, you know, product with a different focus. And you know, and then you have something that you can really build around Honda, right, as something that's becoming very successful for them. I think in the, you know, beyond this rear wheel drive sedan that maybe they build, maybe they don't, is you figure out a way to bring back the small convertible S2000 sort of vehicle. Um,
Oh, there's
and
your
you
Halo
make,
car.
right. And that's something that you can put on the market and really, you know, because I think you still, whatever, you call it this, still call it the S2000. I don't know.
Mhm.
You know, so that would be my thought on how this plays out. And I'm willing to take questions and take criticisms of that.
So, so this, so Acura becomes Honda's Pontiac division, essentially.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that makes I think there's a lot there to like. I particularly like the idea of a some kind of a flagship vehicle wearing the Legend brand name. I really like the idea of the S2000 becoming an Acura, probably a nicer one. I think um, the NSX was a great Halo car the first time around. I don't know that anybody had any idea that there was a second NSX. Um,
Besides Jerry Seinfeld and Jay Leno.
yeah, well, and
Right.
God bless them, they can afford them, right?
Right.
But you know, something that is slightly more accessible, but also something that really stirs the imagination. And you know, for I don't remember how long the S2000 was in production, but boy, it still has a ton of fans even now.
It
Uh,
resonates.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I think a lot of that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
Going back to model names would be nice too,
Yeah.
frankly.
I was
I
really
said
happy when
that.
they brought back the Integra name because it just,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, we know what an Integra is, you know?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I like the
Our friend
idea
Dan
of
had
putting,
two of them.
there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
I love the idea of putting BMW in the crosshairs. That, does Japan really have their version of the BMW,
Not,
that sort of
not,
vibe.
not since Infinity left the building.
Right, exactly. And I don't even know about Infinity too, but I think it would be a great notion for Japan to have a sporting car, a car division that has an accent on sporting. And I think Acura would fit that bill actually pretty well, as long as they still make it luxurious enough for the people who just want to buy a luxury car and don't care how well it drives.
Mhm.
We see a lot of those here in Fairfield County.
Anything to get Acura to survive and come back to sort of what it had been known for would be
Right.
highly welcome. The Acura that I bought 26 years ago is still running at 264,000 miles, and everything still works on it. And it is the last time I drove it. It has been retired for an all-wheel drive vehicle, but it is still a really great drive. And winding out that V6 is still a thing of joy. And anything to kind of bring that visceral enjoyment back to those cars would be, and not have them feel like, super nice Hondas, would be most welcome, I think.
Mhm.
Which model is it? I don't think I know this.
It's the TL.
Oh, it is the TL. Okay. What
Yeah.
year?
The
And yours
2000.
is the second
Second
gen.
gen
Yeah.
TL with the navigation system, which
Uh,
Honda stopped supporting in 2010, by the way. So, in case you want to go back to the Wayback Machine, just fire up the navigation system
okay. I'm gonna
Was
look
that
it up.
on was that
On
on
Sandy the
DVD?
TL.
Was
I'm
that
looking
on
it up so I can get a
DVDs?
good look.
Yes, it was. So the 99 was a CD-ROM based system, and you got 4 discs depending on where in the country you were at any
Mhm.
given moment. Starting with the 2000, it was a DVD-ROM based system with 1 disc to cover the whole of the country.
Yeah, an ex-boyfriend of mine had a Pathfinder that had that, and I think it was probably the first. And he never got anything more than just the Northeast. And we
Mhm.
went down to DC and we crossed the Delaware Memorial Bridge, and then just the roads disappeared. It still showed little circles showing that we were making progress, but
Yeah.
all right. Well, when Honda and Acura call us, we will be happy to ship them this episode
Mhm.
and tell them, how to make things better.
Mhm.
All right, we're going to close it out, land the plane, dock the boat, and remember that you can watch us on old episodes on YouTube on the Car-Pinionated page, and that will be it. We will see you next time.